Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My mom has several autoimmune diseases for 30 years, causing her a lot of pain, muscle weakness, and fatigue, and constant medical issues. She was in and out of the hospital regularly in the last few years of her life. She wasn't able to walk or transfer out of bed herself. As my mom didn't want carers to come in the house, due to loss of dignity and worried that she would be mistreated by care staff, since it happened before at home and in the hospital, my dad carried out all of my mom's care, including personal care, preparing meals, making sure mom took her medication, organizing medical appointments, and trying to stay on top of finances, carer's allowance, and disability benefits. My dad told me he felt completely isolated and burnt out, as he didn't have a life of his own, and his mental health deteriorated a lot. I would come home from university every month or two to visit and help with mom's care, giving dad some respite, but it was nearly impossible during virus when mom's health was at its worst due to the cancellation of most of her medical appointments. Once restrictions were lifted, I came back home to care for my mom as often as I could, but my dad was in a pretty bad way mentally. Eventually, we convinced mom to let carers into the house, as dad couldn't do it alone anymore, so she was given 4 calls per day, and my dad no longer had to make meals or carry out personal care, and had freedom to leave the house when the carers were in. Dad said things were still difficult, but he was feeling better because he started going for long walks to help his state of mind and increase exercise. I visited my parents for Christmas in 2022, and although mom's health was the worst it's ever been, she was in good spirits and had a good relationship with her carers. I thought everything was fine until my dad started acting strange. He would walk out of the house in the middle of the conversation, seemed really distant, and would tear up a few times a day. I've only ever seen my dad cry once before. I was worried that he was hiding his depression and planning something stupid, and said this to him. He said he was tired of this life and discussed moving my mom into a care home, which he talked about before, but I wasn't sure about since mom never wanted that. On Boxing Day night around 11 p.m., my dad said he was going for a walk. Not that unusual since he walked after dinner most nights, but it was very late and we were playing Christmas games. Half an hour later, my boyfriend came in to tell me that my dad's car was gone. I called dad. He didn't answer, but then texted me saying he was sorry and he just needed out. I was terrified. I was calling him over and over, begging him to come home and talk. He replied eventually, saying he was going to their cottage for a few days because he just needed some time alone, but that he was fine and wouldn't do anything stupid. I didn't sleep that night, and around 3 a.m., my mom called for me to come into her bedroom asking where my dad was. She was asleep when he left, and I had to tell her that he left for a few days. I was supposed to fly back with my boyfriend the next day and visit his family for Christmas, but I couldn't leave my mom alone in the house with only carers coming in a few times per day. Dad didn't come back for a week, and after that, said he was staying in a bed and breakfast in the next town because he said living in the house with mom was the cause of his depression. He never moved back home, but he did visit mom 5 times a week for a couple hours a day. He told mom repeatedly he would come home eventually, just needed some time, but he never did. During this time, my grandpa died and left my mom an inheritance of £28,000. Dad asked if he could keep it in my bank account, as it would affect their benefits. I was cautious, but agreed, because I planned to keep it for mom's care as I thought dad would leave indefinitely. A few other things happened before mom passed away in September. I found out my dad was living with another woman in the street behind my mom and was in a relationship with her. He still lies to me about how long it had been going on before mom died, but he obviously went to hers on Boxing Day. He'd also brought his other woman into my mom's house to clean while she was still alive, since my mom couldn't get out of bed. My mom never found out, but asked my dad every day if he would come home, and he lied every time and said he would. He told me he was doing it to protect her, and I would be left with the responsibility if he had told her the truth. Fast forward to now. My dad has been hounding me for mom's inheritance so he can buy a new house in his new girlfriend's name. I won't give him the money, and he said I'm ruining his life by not letting him move on. He said legally the money belongs to him since he's the surviving spouse. This has ruined my relationship with my dad, and he said he won't put a headstone up for my mom until I've given him the money. My siblings sympathize with him because he's had a difficult life, but I don't believe he should use what was rightfully my mom's so his new girlfriend can buy a house. He wants to take legal action against me now. What should I do? OP's dad obviously had a hard life with OP's mom. Many carers do. But how he went about it was totally wrong, and I don't blame OP for being bitter. I also can't blame OP for being angry that her dad wants to spend her mom's inheritance on his new girlfriend. OP's dad obviously asked OP to keep the money so he could commit benefit fraud. He can get into serious trouble for that. I wonder if OP pointed it out to him. But if the money is legally his, OP needs to hand it over. You can empathize with OP's dad and his struggles to be a caretaker, and you can empathize with OP's mom who felt abandoned. At the end of the day, OP's parents' marriage vows were very real, and they were violated. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Goddess of Spite says, you need to speak to a lawyer. If it's determined that your father is legally entitled to the money, you should hand it over. That's the legal side. From a personal side, you should speak to a therapist who can help you look at this from all sides. Promex says, from what you're describing, your dad did what was best for your mom while also taking care of himself. You describe your dad's life while he was taking care of your mom as difficult, as if he was battling depression, as if he felt trapped, etc. Well, he was all these things, and needed to get out of the situation, or else he very well might have ended his life. After he left, you said he visited your mom 5 times a week, so he didn't shirk his responsibilities to her at all. He just recognized that he can no longer live in that house. Believe me, it is better that way than if he had ended his life, or mistreated your mother instead. In terms of what to do with your grandparents' inheritance for your mother, in truth, it depends on what she would have wanted. But if you don't know what she wanted and there's no will, your dad will likely be entitled to at least half of it, depending on the inheritance rules in the particular state or country. The Real Scrotus says, you need to talk to a lawyer, my friend. It's possible that your dad is right and he does have a legal claim to that money. A lawyer will be able to help you figure out the best way forward. My husband is on a trip with one of our sons and his brother to go visit their mother, my son's grandmother. I was cleaning up the den when an email notification popped up on his iPad. It was an email from an apartment complex that they were going to be temporarily closing down the hot water for repairs, sent from one of those automatic senders that you can't reply to. It was addressed to my husband, with his first and last name. The thing is, we own our house. We hadn't rented it over 10 years, and even then it wasn't this place. Where my husband is, upstate New York, there isn't any service. I tried to send him a picture of the email, but it won't go through. I called him and spoke to him for a bit. Service was choppy, but I managed to explain to him all about the email, and basically all he said is that it must be a mistake and they had the wrong email. We weren't able to say much before the call just dropped. But if it was a wrong email, how would they have his first and last name, all spelled correctly? For context, his first name is somewhat common, but our last name isn't common, especially in this area. There weren't any other emails from this sender or about this apartment complex in my husband's emails, but he is also the kind who clears out his inbox as he gets messages. I sent a message to the apartment complex telling them that I think my husband was on their email list by mistake, but I just got an automatic email sent back that they were out of the office until 10/20, and then general rent information pricing. 1 bedroom $1,600, 2 bedroom $1,900, and that there was no open units available. There was no unit number on the email, but the complex is about 15 minutes away from our house, so I went and drove by. Which I guess might be a little crazy, I know. I didn't see anything, not like I knew what to expect. It's a group of buildings, less than 100 apartments in all. I don't have any reason to mistrust my husband other than this weird email that gives me a strange feeling in the pit of my stomach, as well as a general feeling of paranoia that he's just been bored with me. I've been feeling this way for a little while, but he insists I'm imagining it and that he's happy. I only brought it up to him once, when I was feeling particularly insecure last year. We still do things together. He still tells me he loves me, etc. I just feel like he doesn't have as much fun with me as he used to, and like he looks for reasons to be out of the house or doing things specifically with the boys instead of doing things with the whole family. It's not like it's something that bothers me every day, just something that I think about when I'm feeling insecure or paranoid, like a situation like this where he gets an email from random apartment complexes. Anyway, I don't know exactly what advice I'm looking for. I know the advice I would have for one of my friends would be just to talk to him, but I really can't do that until he comes home on Saturday. which is a really long time for me to sit with my intrusive thoughts. Edit. He never lived here in the past. He lived with his parents until college, and then lived in a dorm, and then every place he rented was with me. We've been dating since we were 19. Edit 2. The email wasn't a phishing scam. It was a legitimate email, from the email address on the apartment complex website. All of the information included in the email letterhead matched the information on the apartment complex's website. And if it was a phishing scam, I assume they would have been looking for information. This email wasn't looking for anything. It was just an informational email about the water. This is sketchy. I would maybe be willing to believe it was from an old building he used to rent in. But if OP is sure that's not the case, it's just too big a coincidence that he could have accidentally gotten an email meant for someone with the same name that just happens to be 15 minutes from where they live. I think this is suspicious enough to justify snooping more. Rosetti says, take the iPad to the apartment complex and see if it automatically connects to Wi-Fi. Then have your friend go knock on the door and ask for your husband. See who answers. SportsFan242 1984 says, I was initially going to say it could be spam. I get those all the time, and they sometimes include my first and last name. But the fact that the apartment exists and is only 15 minutes away makes me more suspicious, in my opinion. Is he ever gone for short or long periods of time? OP says, he does go on work trips occasionally, and he works long hours sometimes, but nothing that raised any red flags. Giag27 says, I would investigate. I wouldn't be able to drop it. Sorry. Is there a doorman? Maybe ask someone who lives there. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy also, but I would look into it for my sanity. Update. My best friend called the emergency maintenance number and said that she was a delivery driver who had over $100 worth of food for, and said my husband's name, but said he had forgotten to fill in his apartment number. The guy didn't speak English very well, but after she repeated herself a few times, he did eventually say his name and then told us an apartment number. I'm currently writing this on the ride upstate. Yesterday I posted about an email I had gotten on my husband's email from an apartment complex talking about fixing the water. My husband, who is upstate visiting his mother until Saturday, has next to no call service, so I haven't been able to talk to him about any of this other than saying that the email must have been a mix-up. My friend called and got his apartment number from the maintenance man. Both of us went over to the apartment and my friend knocked. A girl answered but didn't answer the door, just the bell camera. My friend said she was there looking for Adam. The girl said that Adam wasn't there, but wouldn't give her more information than that, which I get. My friend was just a total stranger at her door. When we left, I could see her looking out the apartment window at us. I tried to call my husband 1,000 times yesterday, and nothing went through. The few times the call did pick up, the service was so bad you could barely hear anything. So I'm headed upstate to confront him in person. I have a copy of the email, as well as a photo of the apartment, as well as a recording of the girl saying that Adam wasn't there, which is a confirmation to me that she knows him. If this is somehow all a big misunderstanding, I'm going to have my husband explain it to me in person, instead of waiting until he comes home. I haven't gotten a chance to read all the comments, but I will go through them now and try to respond to what I can. I haven't slept, so I hope this makes sense. Edit. To everyone telling me that I should just wait, not confront him, talk to her first. He's my husband. He's the father of my children. If I'm going to find out that he's cheating on me, it is going to be from him. Update 2. I'm writing this from a hotel room. I went to confront my husband. He knew the minute my car pulled up what was going on. He came outside to meet me, and first thing he said was, "Did you go to the apartment?" And I told him, yeah. So then he said, "So I guess we have to have a talk." And again I said, yeah. I'm not going to get into the exact details of it. It was a long talk, and it involved a lot of emotions. She is his girlfriend. They've been together for 4 months. She is under the impression that we are separated and going through the divorce process. His family wasn't aware of this. His brother and mother, who were there, were horrified. I'm sorry I don't have more to say. I've already contacted a divorce lawyer, a therapist, and a financial advisor. Thanks to everyone for your support. My friend's parents are shelling out a frankly mind-blowing amount of cash for her wedding. Before someone says it, yes, of course I am jealous. Envious, I don't know. Who wouldn't be? She's literally looking at vineyards in Europe. She is going to have the type of wedding many women dream of and could never have. Her parents have 2 requirements. She uses a clergy member from the religion she was raised in, and the food is made according to their religious dietary rules. Literally nothing else. If she wants to get married on the Goodyear blimp while it's parked on Mars, I'm pretty sure they could make it happen. She just can't have any bacon. All she does is complain about these restrictions. I was sympathetic at first, because I get she feels kind of trapped in these restrictions for a religion she doesn't really believe in. Sometimes she does. She's very wishy-washy about it. But after hours and days spent listening to her complain, and even cry about it, I had had enough. I told her if she wants her wedding totally her way, she should just pay for it. She has the money to have a budget that would be higher than most people's are. She immediately scoffed at the idea. I dropped it. Once again today, she calls me sobbing. She wants a specific food at her wedding, but it will have to be made non-traditionally due to dietary restrictions. This is the end of the world, apparently, if your buffet can't have dairy-based salad dressings. The "Kim, there are people dying" meme was playing in a loop in my head. I literally was done at this point. I told her I couldn't listen to it anymore. Call someone else. She got really upset with me. We both said things we shouldn't have. Now I'm getting texts from my other friends. How dare I do this to the bride? She's engaged. That means no one can criticize her for the next 14 months, apparently, because it's her special time, and wedding planning, with 2 wedding planners, mind you, is the most stressful thing that's ever happened to anyone. So now I need to apologize. I will say she apologized for calling me a C-word on the phone. I told her I accept her apology, but I'm not going to apologize for what I originally said, only the heated words afterwards. Like I said sorry for calling her bridezilla, which is apparently worse than the C-word, because that's the thing everyone was focused on. Here's the thing. Everyone wants to be a bridesmaid and get to stay in whatever Downton Abbey house she chooses. So they're all kissing her butt, in my opinion. I don't think I'm an a-hole for trying to give her some perspective. Am I the a-hole here? OP's friend sounds unreasonable. OP can apologize for delivery or phrasing, but the message isn't something to apologize for. I would also be wary about how else the wedding will go. If she is getting this upset about something that small, when it sounds like almost no other boundaries, a bit of perspective is definitely needed. Flobalob15 says, unlimited budget or bacon? Such an impossible choice. Why can't you understand the dilemma she is facing? A good friend would be there for her, supporting her, while she makes this overwhelmingly monumental decision. Not the a-hole. Justin Casey says, I think you hit the nail on the head. Her other friends want so bad to be a part of this wedding that they are giving her a pass on her outrageous behavior. Her parents are paying for everything and have set very reasonable parameters around it. I agree with you. If she doesn't like the restrictions, she can pay for it herself, not the a-hole. Eve3 says, were you previously unaware your friend was spoiled rotten? Not sure how that could escape notice, but you seem like you're a bit surprised by her crap behavior.